what up, y'all? You already know what it is. Mr. Kardinal Offishall, a.k.a. Johnny Tarbreeze, a.k.a. Celebrity Face. And right about now, you are tuned in to On the Wheel right here on Tough TV. Okay? Has been great, you know what I'm saying? It's a good vibe, a good turnout, and I think people are really keen and eager to learn from some of the experiences that some of the vets have to offer, you know what I'm saying? So it's good, man, because it's good to be in an environment where people are trying to absorb a lot of knowledge and positivity, as opposed to, you know, other times when they're usually rebuking it, you know what I mean? When they don't want to be inundated just with a lot of talk, you know what I'm saying? People just a lot of times like to party and like to do all that kind of good stuff. So it's good to see people that actually want to come down and hear what other people have to say, because in turn it'll help them expand, grow, and progress. Some of the challenges used to be being taken seriously, you know what I'm saying? Especially when I was a lot younger, there weren't very many examples of, I guess, Canadian artists out there for them to refer to. So the only thing that they used to refer to was all the stereotypes that they saw on television for decades and decades and decades. So we weren't really looked at as a place that could actually produce viable artists, you know what I'm saying, that would sell internationally. So those were some of the challenges that we had. But now, just because of a lot of the work that's been put in over the years, there's a lot of opportunities, there's a lot of spotlight that's being shown to Toronto and the rest of the country, and it's creating opportunities for a lot of new artists to go out there and do their thing and really be seen around the world. To see is them create an industry wherein artists wouldn't have to go outside of Canada, because it would be nice. There's plenty of people from England that I know that have sold like 25 million, 30 million just within their own territory. People who we've never heard of have had extremely successful careers. So I would hope that one day our industry would be one where, if we wanted to, we could just stay here, you know what I mean, and just kind of exist within our own borders. But until that day, we got to travel the world and you know what I'm saying, pay mortgage everywhere else. We came up, and instead of getting fly, instead of having my first car at 16 and all that stuff, we were spending money in studio. I used to starve myself at lunchtime, you understand, when I was in high school. And instead of, you know what I mean, going to Harvey's, going to McDonald's and what have you, we would be in studio. When people used to skip school and go check girls, or skip school and go play video games, we was in studio. So coming up, we had no choice but to sacrifice. And all of us, we all had the same vision and the same dream at that time. It was interesting because a lot of people don't know. It's interesting. We have the access to the most amount of information right now, yet we have no idea of what Toronto's legacy really is. We have no idea of what Toronto's history is. It's funny, yesterday, and what Toronto's legacy is. Toronto is a beautiful place, you know what I'm saying? Toronto is a beautiful place, and it's one of the ugliest places at the same time. But the reason that I bring light to what Toronto is because that's what gave me my driving force from day one. In 1996, when I sampled Bob Marley's Natty Dread, and I came up with my first tune that I ever released called Natty Dread, that was strictly based on what Toronto offered me, what Toronto gave me. People always talk about represent. Representing doesn't just mean you tell people that you're from Toronto. It's talking about Toronto, who we are as a people, what we represent, the lives that we lead, the things that motivate us to get up every day. That's why when I got my first deal, my first record deal with MCA Records, the first song I came out with was a song called Bacardi Slang, because that's who we were. Growing up, I always used to look at LA, look at the Bronx, Brooklyn. I used to hear about all these places, but I never used to hear about Toronto outside of Maestro, Michi, Dream Warriors, and Ghetto Concept. So to me, when I got into this business, I said to myself, I want my legacy, you know, for my people where I come from, to be proud, but also not just to be proud, to take the example that I put forth and have that be a part of their everyday life. So it's one of those ones, a lot of time when people come up to me, yo Cardi, I love this record, I love how you go on her egg tail, blah, 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 because it's a relatable thing. It's a relatable thing. I say that to say, this is the reality of where we live in Toronto. What's being displayed on television right now across the board is not really representing what our neighborhoods are about. It's not representing what our community is about. And you know, for me, I always pride myself off of being different than any of the other people out there. I think that if you look back at my legacy, what I've done before up until now, you can be proud to say, you know what, I think Cardi always represented who he was and also represented his city. And I think that's very important for every musician, no matter what genre that you're dealing with. It's very important to be proud of who you really are and what you really represent. Because even in the Bible it says everything that's in darkness will eventually come to light. You understand? And the other thing about being a musician that's very important is that you need to know who you are, because you can lose yourself in the music. I know there's so much in a relationship within this music business. There's so much in getting to know the DJ, getting to know the artist, getting to know that producer. Because the thing that they don't tell you, and I'll tell you because I've met almost every person that I ever wanted to meet in this business, from a Jay-Z to a Lil Wayne to a Kanye to whatever. They never tell you guys about the bad times. But the thing that keeps these people pushing forward is the relationships that they have forged. Relationships are extremely, extremely important. Traveling is huge. Traveling is a big part of it. A lot of you guys know me from stuff that I did in my earlier years, and sometimes people always wonder, well, how did I ever link up with Akon? They think that it's a thing to where I was begging him a record deal and he signed me and all the rest of that stuff. When me and Akon got together, he was already a big fan, because everywhere he traveled in the world, I was already there. We'd be in France, I'd be in France too. You know what I mean? I'd be in Miami, he'd be like, yo, what are you doing here? He'd see me every single place around the world that he went. He's like, who is this guy? You understand? And then when he did his homework and found out who I was and realized that I was a boss in my own right, that's when he wanted me to be a part of the convict movement at the time. You understand? It was a forging of families at that point in time. It wasn't a thing to where I was begging him anything, because I already had my legacy planted and my feet, you know what I mean, firmly placed. Traveling is very, very, very important. You know what I'm saying? If you're an aspiring artist, don't think you can just come to these music conferences and hear a couple of people talk and ask a couple of questions and think that's it. You gotta take that money that you would have bought your little Gucci belt or your Louis belt or your little purse hanging out of your pants and all that, and you need to go to the UK. You know what I'm saying? You need to meet the Tim Westwoods, the DJ Sem Texas. You need to, you know, go. It sounds wild, but you gotta travel to Japan. You gotta travel to France, because, you know, we always love to be very North America centric, but the rest of the world is not like where we live. So it says, this is a revolutionary menage, me this beaten God. I pray hard for 2 minutes, then I'm sinning at large. I close my third eyelid and hope God don't see me and what I've been portraying on TV. I'm trying to bring the fire like Steenie, but end up at odds with myself like a clash between Bounty and Beanie. Some wanna be me, but don't wanna trade in their insecurities or the urge to seem needy. I get panic attacks flying in coach, like if I died now, what's my last word spoke? Is my mother gonna break down? Does my wife have enough paper stash for the government shakedown? Governments break down, but men are not allowed. If you show emotions, it's the tears of a clown. I'm not in agreement. Half the people incapable of expressing love leave blood on the cement.
I see men and all of the socially born mores. I see who they are and I see what they tell Tory. I see where they live and I see what they make public. I moved out the ghetto, but I am never above it. My salvation's what I covet, but I live selfish. Just me and my empress. Alone in my mind, it's an emotional tempest. Good and evil seem to coexist in every sentence. Looking at the screen, seeing people I would not mind being, till I pray and realize it's not my being. I am not one of them. I want greater success, but I can't stomach to be around none of them. So I travel with lesser of two evils. Unadvised, but I do business with my peoples. It's hard to separate checks from friendships. When friends don't see checks, they want you to end quick. That's how you separate friends from associates. Both are still capable of acting inappropriate. I've seen friends talk more shit than enemies. I'm probably guilty of doing it in my past, so I ask for forgiveness if you feel that I've hurt you. But don't disrespect my virtue. I'm trying to be a man, but I still have some actions of an adolescent. Lionheart, but I'm Simba with antidepressants. I'm antidepressant, I'm praying, I'm learning my lesson. Session to session, I'm trying to usher my confessions. I never made my life public before this, and I can see the publicists ready to whore this. The truth's heavy, that's why I most can't carry her. God spoke through me and I married her. Truth.